Halo is probably one of my oldest, most dearest memories, closest to my heart. Just like I have memories of sitting down, playing 7th Saga until my eyes felt like they were bleeding, so did I too play just as much Halo. Probably even more so, in fact. My father was the one who blessed me with these games. We had bought the day one release of the Xbox, and played the very original Halo, on Legendary, together, all the way until the end. It was grueling at times. We often threw ourselves into the firefight and it took us many hours to reach the end. This is the exact same ritual we applied every time a new Halo game was to be released. I remember fondly the silver shiny metal casing of that premium Halo 2 copy, and then the swift regret when I made it to the end of the game only to be angry at how easy the boss was. The best in my mind was Halo 3, with an unforgettable ending, a beautiful Warthog run, signifying the best of everything in this classic series, and echoing the symphony that was created in the last of Halo's original levels. It's a topic that is not really burning a hole on anyone's radars today, but something I wanted to discuss nonetheless, as I have recently tried to share that same passion of gaming to my little brother, and even he was captivated by the same mysticism. So I thought it would be fun to wind down the rabbit hole of why this game series is so enjoyable. If you like this type of content, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And without further ado, let's get in. Let me preface this entire video essay first by saying that my little brother is 20 years my junior. We are in a unique situation, and as a result, we have vastly different tastes. For example, he is of the skibbity brain generation, so when he's not scatting, he's playing sandbox games entirely. Minecraft, a generational classic, still persists, and he plays things like Melon Playground. A lot of mobile games, which we do limit, but that's what he likes when he goes to relax. He actually likes a lot of live action stuff, surprisingly enough. He enjoys simulators and simulation games a lot, so it was kind of a surprise to me, but I wanted to explore other areas of gaming with him. The first thing I noticed is that coming from a controllerless background of gaming is often frustrating for him. It doesn't make as much sense to him. When he plays a game like Halo, which in comparison requires a lot more effort controls-wise, he also doesn't enjoy gaming the same way I do. I enjoy games with risks and challenges that are difficult to overcome. I like to grind a bit for that rewarding satisfaction at the end. He does not. This couldn't be farther from his desires, as he literally just wants to have fun. Most games I have showed him have reflected that of his personality in earnest. For example, platforming games or games like Mario Kart or any otherwise usually just tend to fall on deaf ears. He especially gets frustrated when it comes to competition-based game, and he simply gets bored, frustrated, and doesn't want to engage with them. This is a very different from my own experiences. I'm by no means an expert, but I do enjoy a good challenge. It's funny because I'm in that category where I can beat everyone at home, but as soon as I go online to any real challenge, I get my ass whooped. This is why I was glad when he actually liked a few of the games and shows I presented to him. In my first choices, I decided to show him Dragon Ball Z, and this is something that we actually sit down and watch quite often now. I don't think he liked it as much in the beginning, but now that we are making our way around the Cell games, he actually enjoys it quite a bit, and is watching it on his own now sometime. Another choice I presented him with because it was cheap at the time was Risk of Rain 2, something that I played with some friends a long time ago that he has actually picked up and played like a pro. It's good to hop in for an hour here and there, and he actually likes it quite a bit. It's interesting too, because when I was a kid, and if I was close to beating something, I would beg for that extra push to complete that level or game before we wrapped it up for the night. He, on the other hand, is completely different. When he is tired, he just wants to go to bed there and then. You might as well just turn off the game, because if you try to push it, he just attaches and becomes stone-faced. I find this dynamic so interesting, because it'll not even be his bedtime yet, and if he says he's tired, he'd rather just start it fresh tomorrow than continue for even a few minutes just to complete it. With all of this being said, let's get back to the topic at hand. And you may be wondering, Storm, why did you include all these irrelevant details? Well, it's because I want you to see that even a game like Halo can captivate and attract audiences from all different generations and backgrounds. Out of all the things that I have showed my little brother, I was actually astounded that he liked Halo, and I'm even more surprised that he stuck with it. Let's dive into that statement a bit. When I showed him Halo in the beginning, remembering that he didn't like to sweat at video games, I put it on easy mode. I turned on some skulls for fun and just let him at it. This was fine for about a week until we got to the end of Halo 1, to the final level. It was fun until we got to the part where you had to blow up the vents. I think we had just ran out of rocket launchers and the grenades were being a bitch, but it took us a really long time, and this was the first major roadblock to him. It's important to note that when he's been playing with me sometimes, he just wanders off and does his own thing. Again, he's got a case of the skibbity brain, and won't focus clearly on the objective too much. Sometimes he will focus all the way to the end, even helping me take care of the enemies, and sometimes I have to do all the heavy lifting no matter what. But some levels need genuine cooperation if you're playing as a team, and it makes it so much better and smoother to run. As a result of this, and his wandering around, we failed a few times, and it took much longer to pass, and you could see the frustration welling over him. Something that at the end of the day I had to remind him, it's just a game. Don't take it that seriously. Go chill out for a few. I don't know if it's him as a person or younger generations nowadays.
You just can't wait for me to die, can you?
Listen to me, I sound like such an old man saying that, but that's how it affected him. It was genuinely frustrating, and he was done for a bit after that. It was actually several weeks before he wanted to even touch it again. I had originally thought he didn't even want to play it again, that it had soured his taste for the series, but I was wrong. Instead, he persisted, and now we're on the verge of defeating Halo 3 and moving on to Halo 4 with Forerunners. I think it speaks to the game and franchise itself that Halo is that much of a grand design, that it pulls people back even if they do get frustrated with the games itself. When you begin talking about Halo, there are a lot more paths to explore as well, regarding the lore, the media, and more. I will be the first to say I'm dog shit at understanding the lore in Halo, because there's so much of it, and that's with me playing the games a dozen times over until you reach Halo 5 and beyond. I was a Halo player in the early days, but even now when I'm refreshing myself with the literature and lore, I didn't even know half of it. I knew John, the Master Chief, was someone who was experimented on, and a very tall, brave soldier that was the hope of the human race when it came to destroying Halo, or possibly the Ark. I knew that Cortana was an AI built to help him, and I knew the aliens were the bad guys. Once you get to the explanation of the Flood becoming mutated races of the Forerunners, then you actually encounter the Forerunner race and their mechanized warriors and everything that entails, it becomes a bit murky. And then you realize the Covenant is just a treaty between several alien species fighting against Earth and its inhabitants. Obviously, there's a lot of story and lore to the Halo universe, but at the end of the day, while it is interesting, you don't really need to know much of it. It's there if you want to bathe and immerse yourself in it, but my brother is kind of like me in this regard. It's nice to look at, but dang it, bring me back to the pew-pews.
Pews.
It also gets incredibly murky when you start talking about ships named Truth and Reconciliation, then you start talking about a prophet named Truth. No matter how deep and honestly intriguing the game's lore actually is, you can't expect an 8-year-old to keep track of it that well. Moving on from the lore, I wanted to take a pit stop to talk about the soundtrack, which even my little brother comments on. With Halo and even Risk of Rain 2, he says it's awesome. How cool is that to captivate people just with your music and the vibes your game puts off with? And I know I mentioned earlier about the Halo 2 boss being incredibly easy to beat, and I didn't know if that had always been a me thing, but even my little brother mentioned it in our playthrough that beating Halo's 2 boss felt way underwhelming and was kind of a letdown. I'm really excited to explore more of Halo with him and move on to Halo 4 with the Forerunners and more. I've also never played Halo 5 and Halo Infinite, so maybe it's the perfect time to get into it. Of course, we have to play Halo Reach and ODST first, and maybe even Halo Wars, but we'll see how he likes that when we get to it. Thank you everyone for taking the time to listen in today, and if you liked what you heard, make sure to that subscribe button if you want some more. Have a beautiful day, everyone.
Bye, have a great time.